Hello everybody, welcome to Storytellerarts. My name's Dan. I'm a writer and I decided to start this channel up to help promote my writing and my books, and also just to help people in general. I believe that I've got some pretty good content that helps people, and I've been told by people all over the world that I should expand, and so I'm venturing into the world of YouTube. So if you want to join me as I start a family, hopefully you'll like what I've got to say. But I decided what I'm going to do is I'm going to start every episode. I'm going to read one of my stories, and then I'm going to talk about it and explain why I wrote it the way that I did, what I was thinking about, or what might have inspired it if there is a backstory, and then that will help people see my blog more and my website. And in general, I think that it'll help people. And I've had a lot of compliments on my poems through the years. I started about 10 years ago with just a cheesy love story poem to a friend of mine. And she loved it. She said I was really good and that I should continue writing. Which, if I was, as a kid, if you'd asked me if I was going to be a writer, I would have told you, no way, there's not a possibility. Actually, I dropped out of high school because of English 7 and English 8. I found it overwhelming and I was unable to complete it. So I did drop out. Now, I went back about 11 years later. Actually, it was 10 years later, at my 30th birthday. And I forget exactly what year it was. But I did go back and I got my diploma. So I finally finished it. It just took me a long time to do it. And now, as a Christian man, I think that looking back on that, that was probably the devil trying to stop me from my calling. Because the more I write, the more I come to grips with the fact that it's what I was meant to do. I've been touching people all over the world with using nothing but writing. And so I've come to understand, and I want to share with the world, that there really is power in the words that you write or say. You can build someone up with the way that you speak, or you can tear them down just as easily. And wars have been fought because of words that have been said. You know, divorces have been caused because of words. And so if you really think of that, and if you understand that the way that you structure those words can either help someone or it can destroy them. And so I learned that early on. Now, at first, when I first started writing, I took some really good compliments and I also took some negative criticism. And as a new writer, I let that get to me, and I actually stopped writing for about 10 years. Because someone said, oh, that's not true poetry because it all rhymes. So, well, no, it doesn't all rhyme, but I let it get to me, and so I stopped writing. Well, then one day out of the blue, I got an email from a lady in Africa who had come across my blog, and she seen one of the poems that I wrote called Angels in Training, and her mother had just died, and she was in tears. And so she wanted to know if she could use that poem. And I said, of course, absolutely. So she asked me if I'd email it to her, which I did. And so then that got me thinking, you know, if 100 people say that they don't like my work, but I get one person that says they do and that it helped them, would I still post it? And the answer to that is yes. And so I decided that I'd face the critics, and, you know, if you like it, great. If you don't, great. We're all different. That's what makes us individuals. And so you don't have to like my work. And if you don't like it, then by all means, you know, there's other channels to watch. But if you do like it, then I encourage you to come on back. If you want to help the channel, then hit the subscribe button and maybe the thumbs up or the bell notification, and come along with me on this journey. Every video is going to be a little bit different because all my topics that I cover are different. But what makes me different is that I tackle some of the very, very tough subjects like child abuse and divorce and drinking and driving. I've written a lot of different poems. I've got probably over 100 poems. In fact, this book here that I published, it's 208 pages, and there's a picture in between each. So there's probably about 60 or 70 poems just in this book alone. Now, although I do sell my book, they're also all for free. If you go to my website, you can look at any of the poems that you want. You can read them at your own discretion. I don't charge people to read my content. I just have a book because people wanted me to assemble them into a collection. And so if you'd like to purchase that, I will leave links in the description. And it's available on paperback, audiobook, and it's also available on ebook. Now, I've got a second book that's almost done that's going to be coming out. It's going to be geared more towards children. It'll be a coloring book. And then I'm going to have a third book also that I've already started, and I've got 4 or 5 chapters done on it. That's going to be a little bit different. Instead of short stories and poems, it's actually going to be a novel. So I've come to develop the sense of writing that I really enjoy. So I encourage you to come back if you do like what I read and write. Come back and check out more, or go to my website and you can look at what I have available on there. There's several pages I have on the internet, and I think the day that someone told me I was undiscovered is when I really started getting serious about writing, because that's probably the best compliment that I will ever receive, is that someone told me I was undiscovered. So I'm here on the internet now, spreading my words and my poems. I'm available on Instagram, Pinterest, Facebook, all the normals, Twitter. I got all of those. And as I write, I post new poems, and I'm still writing. So I never know when inspiration is going to hit me or what it's going to hit me about. It just comes to me sometimes. And sometimes I feel like God's talking to me, and I wake up thinking about something and I'll write it out. And other times I'll have, like I said, I'll have something on my mind and I'll be thinking about it literally for about a month, and then all of a sudden, bam, I'll sit down and I'll write it all out. There's one I wrote about bullies, because I believe the topic of bullies is something that's very, very powerful and needs to be shared to help prevent it from future generations. And I wrote a poem about bullies, and it literally took me about 12 hours to write that. All day long I wrote that, and I got a lot of really positive feedback from it. So for the first story that I'm going to read, it's going to be the very first poem that I ever wrote. I thought that would be a good place to start. It's called Just a Thought. I had a thought the other day I want to share with you. A simple thought, I thought, because I think of you. Well, what I think is what I thought if I think of you, until my very last breath and my time on earth were through. That thought was all I had to think. A smile forms my lips. The glimmer in my eyes began to tingle near my hips. I thought that if I think of you until my dying days, I'll always think of loving you in many different ways. So that was the first one that I ever wrote. And then from there, it turned into some more love poems, and then eventually it graduated to sad and depressing and lonely poems. And then nowadays, it's just whatever I happen to think about. Sometimes I'll just think of a story that I want to protrude, and then that's where it'll go, or portray rather. And I don't know what I'm going to write next. It just comes to me sometimes, and sometimes I can't think of anything. I get writer's block, and I just can't think of a word. Not a single thing. But I have a lot to share, and I've got a lot of videos that I can make and will make. And so if you stuck with me this long, thank you very much, and I appreciate it. So in closing, I just want to say I know the world's a dangerous place right now with COVID, social distancing, and trying to stay isolated, wearing our masks. I have COPD, so I have to use a nebulizer like 3 or 4 days a week already, sometimes a couple times a day. Especially this time of year, I get all congested and stuffy, and the pollen, and there's so many things that get me breathing really hard, really heavy, and so it scares me to death. COVID is no joke. I pray that everybody stays safe out there, but thanks again for visiting me on Storytellerarts.com, and hopefully I pray we'll all make it through this. But because of it, the depression level is up there. I know that there's a lot of people right now that are stressed out to the max. They're stuck in their house, their friends are dying, their relatives are dying, maybe they're dying. It's up to us as a nation and as a world to stick together and to get through this. It's going to go away, and hopefully we'll all survive and beat this thing. But God bless everyone out there. Thanks for visiting me, and come again. This has been Storyteller Arts. My name is Dan. Thank you for your time.